The humongous amount of money expended on roads construction and rehabilitation by President Muhammadu Buhari between 2016 and 2020 is, of course, a very huge amount. A total of 8,352 kilometers of roads were constructed or rehabilitated. To achieve this, according to presidency, a total number of 339,955 jobs directly were affected to this project. But does this really have an effect on the generality of the nation as the president wind down his administration? Joining me to talk about this is Mohammed Baba, Professor of Sociology and Management Science, Federal University of Benin Kebbi. Good afternoon to you, sir.
A very good afternoon to you and a very good afternoon to viewers.
Okay, first of all, the President Muhammadu Buhari, of course, is winding down his administration. By May 29, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course, will be sworn in as the president. One of the critical structure that we want to look at is, of course, the infrastructure of President Muhammadu Buhari, looking at the things and the humongous money that was spent into that aspect of the economy. How would you rate his infrastructural progress and looking at his scorecard as a wind down his administration?
Well, actually, let me say that in assessing the infrastructural component of this administration has to be done within the context of the administration's total approach to the Nigerian scenario, including health, education, and everything. But of course, we are focusing only on infrastructure. Let me say, yeah, there has been a lot of propaganda about infrastructure that has been constructed. You have talked about hundreds of thousands of roads that have either been constructed or rehabilitated. Looking at that and the amount spent on such construction, you need to view it against those that have not been done, or those that have not received attention, or those that are crying for attention. Of course, there have been success here and there. The most prominent, of course, is the second Niger Bridge, completed by the administration. Of course, a lot has been done in the Lagos and Ibadan zone. The National Assembly had called out the Minister of Works to remind him that allocating 30% of infrastructure or road infrastructural development to Lagos alone does not reflect the needs of the Federation. Of course, there have been so many plans. We know about plans to extend the railway, say, from Gusau to Sokoto and Birnin Kebbi. We have talked about the railway extending from Kaduna to Kano. We are yet to see any of this. We understand, but we're yet to see the completion of the railway line from Kano to Maradi, even with the controversies surrounding this. I have been on a number of key roads in the Federation, and I know they're crying, they're still crying for attention. The road leading from Sokoto to Gusau, for example, from Gusau to Funtua, still needs attention. From Funtua to Zaria, I know the road has been reconstructed up to Giwa, or just before Samaru. They are not completed. Not to talk of the notorious Abuja, Lokoja, Abuja, Kaduna, and then of course on to Kano. The Abuja Kaduna road has been comatose, so to speak, for the 8 years that this administration has been in power. It's as if you drive on that road, it's as if we don't have a government in the country that pays attention to that. I don't know the logistics of taking 8 years to construct a 200-kilometer road from Abuja to Kaduna. But these are some of the things that people speak of and people will use to assess this administration. It's okay to do a glossy picture, a glossy documentary with everything that should have been done or that have been done. The point is exactly against what goals, against what promises what have been done and what have not been done. Yeah, we have among the infrastructure and the construction of offices for federal agencies, such as the customs recently, and a number of agencies. But the question one will ask is, how does constructing a big edifice with all the modern appliances, all the modern facilities, what are the impact on service? What do you think the construction of the custom headquarters will do to our ability to have an effective custom control policy on ground? The majority of those officers who help us with import and export control are there at the borders, living in conditions that are less than ideal. So if you ask me overall, what has the government achieved in terms of infrastructure? I will say some, but I am personally not impressed. And I think there are a number of Nigerians who obviously would say they expected and are entitled to expect more. In this region, I know, for example, that Jega-Yawuri Road has been finished, and this is very good. Driving on the road, it's such a pleasure, but like I said, if you take other parts of the country, see, for example, the notorious Numan Jalingo Road, or in fact, the Ngurore linking to Jalingo. It's a nightmare. You go from Jalingo, take the road to Wukari and on to others, to the southeastern parts. Oh, we needs more attention. But of course, if you look at also Kwanga to Lafia, a lot has been done. Lafia to Makadi, a lot has been done, accepted, or rather they are finished because some of the roads were actually started. But some of the projects were started by previous administrations. And it's very good that they will be finished. So overall, I would say something has been done. I will give some percentage as a teacher, but that will be hovering around 40, 45% at best. If I would push myself about 50, if I would add some of the other roads that some parts of the country have enjoyed.
Okay, Prof.
Other infrastructure, railway, and so on, that's a big question mark.
All right, Prof. I think you're being generous. You're being generous with the 40, 45%. Some Nigerians will tell you.
Thank you. I thought I was pushing myself to help this student. At least, what do they say, students? Let my people go. I am seeing the end of this. I'm looking forward to the end of this administration. Actually, like I said to someone, against the promises made by the administration,
okay.
The performance has been disappointing, to say the least.
Yes. Okay. Oh, yes. Because some Nigerians have said, yes, we're seeing all the construction, the infrastructure going around the country, but how does this really have an effect on the lives of every Nigerian? Because that's the major point. What is the essence of you constructing?
What is the infrastructure of security that will allow the use of these facilities? That's very important.
Yeah. So my question to you, Prof, is the President Muhammadu Buhari is winding down his administration. As a matter of fact, in just 1 or 2 days, will be out of office. Looking at all the things that he has done in terms of infrastructure, now that this administration is coming in of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they say government is a continuum. How do you think that they need to scale up the infrastructure deficit that we have in this country? Because there's still a lot of infrastructural deficit that we still have.
Yes. Yeah. My expectation and my hope is that contrary to what the incoming president had stated during the campaign, that he will continue from where the president, I would say, wait, look, stop for a minute. Such promises, we knew such promises were done for the campaigns. What I would expect the administration to start doing is to do an evaluation. And I honestly do not envy anybody taking over this country from Buhari. When you look at some of the daunting problems when you look at avoidable pitfalls, when you look at things that were promised but not delivered, when you look at some of the pains inflicted on the citizens, what I expect this administration to do is to take a stop. Exactly where we were. What can we afford? What should we put aside? What are key infrastructures that will trigger change in the economy, that will bring succor to people suffering, like those who are into the private sector, transporting? What other areas have we neglected? Obviously, there is no doubt about it that since about the first military administration that took over after the civil post-independence civil, we should have invested more in railway lines as a mass transit facility. If you look at from Lagos to Yola via Jalingo, going to Biu and Maiduguri, we should have had a railway linking those. Or you take over from the Mambila plant,
Prof,
going down to Abuja.
Prof, sorry to cut you,
yes.
But some persons will say that President Muhammadu Buhari has actually tried in the area of doing this rail. As at 2014, 2013, 2015, 2016, there was no rail, a functional rail line in Nigeria. But now we can boast of some rail lines in Nigeria. So some persons will say, yes, let's give him kudos for that.
Yeah, like I said, we deserve more. But you see, you have to look at with the result. We talk about some lines going on, but at what speed? Look at the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. Beautiful line that has been allowed to now run. It's almost dead. There is only one train going from Abuja to Kaduna. But the point is, what other supporting infrastructure did we put on ground to support this? How many? Still, I see a lot of cement. I see a lot of fuel and others being taken, being on the roads with heavy vehicles impacting on the quality of these roads. Yes, we can give him some kudos, but what I'm saying is, given the height, given the amount of money expended, don't we think we deserve more? And I personally think the country deserves more than what we are seeing. Yeah, it's okay to give him kudos and so on, but we should not exaggerate as the regime is given to doing, that this has impacted on the lives of citizens. Let's talk about what we see on ground. The number of heavy-duty vehicles plying some of the roads, the goods, the amount of goods being hauled by the road. I once, about a year ago, I traveled from Oyo to Kaduna, and we started at 5 o'clock. I was just on my own counting the number of heavy-duty vehicles we encountered on the road. And it's tremendous. And I asked myself, these things were available. If we had a rail line that will take a lot of these heavy-duty goods off the road, would have been better for it. Will be faster, more efficient, better for safety on the roads, and so on and so forth. Let me draw your attention to what happened last year. The flood that blocked the entrance to Lokoja, leading on to southeastern parts of the country. If you remember the armada of vehicles stranded by the road, these were available if we had infrastructure on ground for dealing with floods. We don't. And that's what I mean by earlier statement I made, that if you look at what's on ground and the supporting infrastructure, without this supporting infrastructure, the effectiveness of what has been achieved will be vitiated. If we had a plan for dealing with floods, and we should, that is also part of our infrastructure. You don't just go and construct roads or railway lines without thinking of what the environment will do, how nature will react. Let's pay attention to that. I'm sorry, people last year had to look for alternative ways to go to the southeastern parts of this country, southeastern and south-south, from Abuja and other areas. That was not pleasant thing to look at.
Okay, so why some will agree with you on the things of why the things that President Muhammadu Buhari has done in these areas that you have mentioned. Some are also making case for him, and it says the resources are not available that much. You also hear the part where they say the country was hit by COVID-19 and the NSAS issues, so there was a lot of crackdown in the economy, the dollar going up, so a lot of things were at stake at the time, and they make excuses for all of this. But moving forward,
you call it excuses. I will agree with you. Making excuses, that's very important.
Okay, so moving forward, the administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is coming in, and there's still a lot to cover up. What should Asiwaju be looking at in these areas of infrastructure that will affect the life of every Nigerian as his administration kick off?
I will expect and I hope there will be first an evaluation of where we are and where do we need to with regards to infrastructure to support all our other activities. Resources will always be inadequate. Resources will always be in shortage. It's not how much you have, it is how we manage it. What kind of debt did we go into in this country? And have they paid off? What are the problems? And I think the government is inheriting, I'm sorry to say, a messy country in many aspects. And there are expectations that things will be different. And we hope and pray that things will be different. But it's also good to be realistic. The problems are too many and daunting. The areas calling for attention are many. What I expect the government to do is to take a few sectors and do an assessment and embark on projects that will be impactful, that will have results in 3 to 4 years, so that people will begin to see. There are many areas that we need to plug that are disappearing from this country. Of course, I know you will say, is the behemoth of corruption. But, lay the foundation for doing a realistic assessment of where we need to be as a country. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? Let's utilize the opportunities, mindful of the challenges, mindful that, of course, there are factors that are daunting and we may not be able, and the government may not be able to fully solve. But let's see on ground that arrangements have been put in order to tackle this. And this arrangement, more effective, more seriously, these arrangements are effective or they show promises for being effective. There are a few states where governors have done very well in terms of infrastructure, if you visit. There are a few states that I have visited where previous regimes have done very well, but other regimes that come after it, relax, sort of with going into complacency. Oh, we don't need to do that, and so on. We need to pay attention to education. We need to pay attention to health. We need to pay attention to rural infrastructure. But we need to pay attention to major arteries through which goods and services move in this country from the north to the south. Or vertically, we need to pay attention to the movement of agricultural goods, because this is the major backbone of our economy. How do we support agriculture? For example, in the last 4 to 5 years or even more, I have not heard of the National Agricultural Land Clearing Agency. It's not in the news. This is what we should be hearing about. I have not heard much about National Agricultural Insurance. That is also an infrastructure. These are infrastructure. What is happening to them? We have seen some movement, say, by the Federal Road Repairs Agency. Fine, but why are other areas, why are these interventions selective? You find a stretch of the road that's very good for a few kilometers. You go and, done by Federal Road Repairs Agency, fine. But the balance of the road, has been unattended to. Why? These are things we need to. I expect, in short, the present administration to embark on an emergency, and we don't have time. The administration does not have much time, on an emergency reassessment of where the country needs to be in terms of delivering goods and services, in terms of serving the people, in terms of meeting its promises. We will forgive the regime for some of the lofty promises made. Now we expect a realistic assessment, and the government should embark on projects that impact directly on the lives of the people, not spending billions and billions of money constructing high-rise building in Abuja with massive office space for the chief executive and other Mr. Big staff that are there. Go to the ground. What are the things that will impact on it? For God's sake, people can operate from porter cabins and tents inside Abuja. They don't need all those high-rise buildings that overlook. Go 5 kilometers outside Abuja and you are back to the third world. So these are things we need to pay attention to.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. We need to round up the show now. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And that's, of course, Professor Mohammed Baba, a professor of sociology and
I just
management.
Want to make No. Let me make a little correction. I am a professor of sociology and dean of the faculty of social and management sciences at the Federal University of Kebbi. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. And that's our show for today. Join us next week as we bring you interesting political stories. Don't forget to watch the repeat by 11 p.m. tonight and 5 a.m. tomorrow. Bye for now. I'm Ademola Lawrence.